Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that have already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you're new and you like travel vlogs and tips and tricks for traveling, then make sure you click the subscribe button below and I will be eternally grateful. So I've decided I'm going to do a lot more tips for traveling because I get a lot of messages every day on Instagram and Facebook asking me about places that I like to go, tips on backpacking, and one of the main things that I get asked is how I travel the world for free, or at least how I travel the world cheaply. So that's something that I'm going to focus on today. So some of you might know I am a travel TV presenter and I work for two channels, Travel XP, which is based in Mumbai, and also Globetrotter TV, which is on Sky in the UK. So obviously I do get to travel with my job and I feel very lucky that I have a career that allows me to travel. But obviously I'm not working all the time and I've got to make a lot of my own opportunities and I spend a lot of time doing this. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks as to how you can do it yourself, what kind of places you can go to meet people that'll help you travel, what websites you can use, and hopefully you guys can start getting some free trips too. So one thing that I do is I enter a lot of competitions. I am a bit of a competition maniac. I don't know how this happened. It kind of morphed into one over the past few years, but I enter a lot of competitions. I'm like one of those old women that sit at home and enter everything that I can. But I do actually have quite a bit of luck in winning some of these. But there are two types of competition. There's the competition where they're going to get thousands and thousands of entries because all you have to do is enter your email address, and I don't enter these. Obviously somebody has to win, but the likelihood that it's going to be you is so much lower because they have so many entrants. So the ones that I enter, you've got to enter the competitions where you actually need to do something. For example, some competitions require you to make a video, they require you to post a photo, they require you to write a story. These actually require a little bit of effort and therefore the amount of people that enter them is going to be much, much lower. I've seen some travel competitions on Twitter where you have to make a little video and they've had about 25 entrants. So obviously if a bit more effort is involved with not as many entrants, the likelihood that you will win is much higher. So these are the ones that you want to look out for. Like I said, I enter a lot of these, and if you're wondering where I find out about them, that's what a lot of people ask. To be honest, Facebook is actually quite a good place. I think my targeted advertising on Facebook is so accurate now. It knows the only thing I'm really going to click on is travel related. So I get a lot of travel competitions advertised to me on there. I also do on Twitter as well, but it does help on Twitter if you're following the right people. So go through, follow lots of tourist boards, lots of hotels, and hopefully the algorithm will start to recognise what you're interested in and advertise some more competitions to you. I also go to a lot of events, travel related events and expos, and quite a lot of the time there are competitions there as well. Sometimes all you have to do is put in a business card, but once again, you're more likely to win that than people just having to enter an email online. And I've actually had quite a lot of luck with competitions in the past year. I won a trip to India at the World Travel Market last year. So they were the sponsor of the travel market and they ran a competition where anybody that attended the event could post a photo or video on social media that showed what a great time they were having. And I entered this one and ended up getting 2 weeks in India for two people with flights and accommodation, which was incredible. I also won 3 months in South America, courtesy of LATAM Airlines. So they run a competition called Vamos LATAM. And they picked 3 people that could represent the company, either photographers, travel bloggers. They had a lady who was an expert in textiles, and they allowed them to choose 3 places around South America to go and write about. So I visited Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, and very briefly into Argentina. I've also just won one more competition as well, which is with Wizz Air. So they're a Hungary-based airline, and all you had to do was enter a hashtag on one of your photos. So this was Get Lost with Wizz. And you had to enter it on Instagram, just tag underneath, and then they picked 50 winners who all get to go with +1s. And I know that you're probably thinking, I might win a few of these because I have quite a lot of followers on Facebook, but it's possibly true for some of the competitions. But a lot of them, they aren't necessarily looking for someone with followers, they're looking for someone that brings something to the table. So there's plenty of competitions that I've entered where I might have had more followers, but I haven't won because they've liked the style or the energy of the other person more, which is fantastic because it means that everyone has an equal opportunity, which is how it should be. So another brilliant way to travel the world for free is simply by looking on your Facebook friends list. You can have hundreds of people on your friends list and they're going to be based all over the world. I'm not saying you can just go and freeload on all of your friends, but a lot of people would be interested in a swap, like a house swap or a room swap, or just simply let you crash on their sofa. So I travel a lot and I've met people all over in every country. I usually like to stay in touch with people, so I get their email or I add them on Facebook, and I always let them know that they're more than welcome to come and stay with me. And this actually has happened. I've met friends in Peru and Colombia, and we've actually stayed at each other's houses around the world since then. And this is such a good way to travel, not just because it's really cheap and you get the free accommodation, but also it means that you're going to have a local guide. So for example, I went to stay with a friend just south of LA, and obviously he knows the area so well, so I had my own personal tour guide and a really good friend of mine, which makes it a lot more fun. Another way to travel really cheaply is to be very flexible with where you go. So I know a lot of people, they're probably looking at Instagram and you're wanting the dream holidays, the kind of Maldives, the Mauritius, places like that, but there are plenty more very under the radar places that are absolutely fantastic to go to, as long as you are a bit more flexible. So when I'm looking for flights online, I use Skyscanner pretty much all of the time. I search from the airport that I want to go to, so either Heathrow or Gatwick, and they have an option to search for everywhere. So you literally just type in everywhere and it brings up the cheapest places to fly from within the dates that you've selected. And on this basis, I've been to some really cool places that I might not have thought of going to otherwise. For example, I've been to Poland a couple of times. Like, I think Poland's fantastic, but it's not necessarily everyone's top of the list place to go. Equally, I flew to beautiful Sardinia for about £31, so about $40 return from the UK, because I was totally easy as to where I went. I searched everywhere, Sardinia came up as a really cheap option, and I had an incredible trip. So one way to get some free trips, or at least free nights in hotels, hostels, maybe some free flights, is simply by asking. And I know this sounds really weird, or you might feel uncomfortable doing so, but a lot of people do this every day. What you've got to think about, first of all, if you're looking to approach a company, is what you can offer them. If you're a travel blogger, for example, that's fairly easy. Of course, you can approach companies and suggest a partnership. Maybe you can do some writing, you can take some photos, and it might be good publicity for the hostel or hotel. We've also got to remember that a lot of other people do have this idea as well. So you've got to make sure that your application or your email stands out from the crowd. Introduce yourself, tell them your skills, tell them about your followers, tell them what the benefit will be to them. And also don't be discouraged if they either say no or you don't get a response back at all. This happens all the time. Whenever I'm traveling, I might approach 10 different hotels in one place and maybe 8 of them won't be interested at all, 2 of them might be, and then obviously you can choose where you want to stay. If you're not a travel blogger, if you're not a photographer, don't worry, there are plenty of other things that you can do as well. I know quite a lot of people that have travelled around the world and they have worked along the way. So they have approached different hostels and they've stayed for maybe a week, 2 weeks, and they've worked behind the bar, they've cleaned the rooms, they've taught English. There are so many different ways that you can offer your skills. So you just need to have a think about what you can do and what you can bring to the table. So hopefully this has given you a few tips to get started on traveling the world for cheap or free. I've got a lot of other ideas as well, so if you've enjoyed this one, leave me a comment underneath and let me know what you thought of it. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.